Hey everybody, we wanted to let you know about an upcoming personal appearance where you can come meet me and Allie. We're going to be at Galacticon 2023, November 24th through the 26th at the Denver Marriott Tech Center. This is going to be a really fun weekend. And the strike is over, so we can talk about shit now.
That would be so awesome.
So Todd Stashwick will be there from Star Trek Picard.
I definitely want to get a picture with him, and I'm just going to post it and just with the word no.
No, yes.
No.
Denise Crosby.
I don't believe this.
Star Trek The Next Generation.
Tasha Yar.
You're going to put that thing on and parade around like one of them?
Jesse James Kittel. No?
Who's that?
She played a villain in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Dr. Aspen was a kind of villain character. Anyway, she was on Queer as Folk and some other stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I know who she is.
Another one I can't wait to meet is J.G. Hertzler. It's General Martok.
Leader of the Empire.
Oh.
The Klingon. General Martok. The one with the eyelid that was like sewn shut on one side.
Yeah. Awesome.
He's done several things in the Star Trek universe. Rick Worthy, he was several characters in Star Trek shows.
He was also, I know him because he was on Stargate.
Right.
So yeah.
Battlestar Galactica, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, like you name it, there's a lot of great stuff happening. So there's all of these celebrities that you can come meet, including us.
Yeah.
We're not celebrities.
We're not a celebrity. No one knows
There's
us.
authors and creators and artists and all kinds of different different people who are going to be here. VisFX people, cosplayers. And then they asked us to do a panel. And so we signed up to do a panel. We're doing a panel on the humanism in Star Trek. And then they asked us to do a live podcast at Galacticon. So we'll be doing a live podcast episode during the weekend too. And we don't have all of that schedule information yet. But if you go to galacticondenver.com, you can get tickets and see who all's going to be there and when all the things are going to be. Come on out and see us.
Yeah.
That's Galacticon, November 24th through the 26th, 2023 at the Denver Marriott Tech Center. GalacticonDenver.com.
Hope to see you there.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Mr. Spock. Your move, Captain. Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friends and my shipmates. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas.
Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
My house is my house.
As are its contents.
And welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
The day that you're hearing this will be the day before Galacticon Denver 2023 kicks off.
Woohoo!
So we're excited for that. This is their first year doing this event. And so we're excited to be part of it. They seemed like they were really looking for people to really sign up for shit.
Yeah.
And so much to Allie's anxiety's disappointment, I signed us up for all the shit.
Yeah. So now we're not only doing a panel, we're also doing a live podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We said, fuck it. Let's do it live.
I mean, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So here's what I'm worried about. So we haven't gotten the final schedule yet, but I think my request was we do a panel on Saturday and the live show on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hopefully that's what we'll get. But what I'm worried about is you're probably worried about this panel, it's just us. How are we going to fill 50 minutes?
Right.
Right. Because it's an hour, but 10 minutes to switch over. So we have 50 minutes of time to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, on the opposite side of that, how the fuck are we going to do a Star Trek episode in 50 minutes?
Oh, shit. Oh, no.
We're going to have to like really edit down.
So we only have 50 minutes?
Yeah, for our live show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
So normally we review these episodes separately and then we bring our notes independently together. And we don't really like look at each other's notes or talk about what jokes are you going to make.
It's all off the cuff. Every bit of it.
But not for this live show. We're going to have to do a little prep.
Yeah. Also, the thing I'm worried about is the thing about live shows is all of the sound effects that you add are done in editing.
Right.
And I'm wondering, is there a way we can like have a button?
I asked them and it sounded like they're going to have a producer like on site right there.
Oh, yeah.
Like to run all of those things. And I don't know if they're thinking about like, oh, a podcast has an intro and an outro. Lots of podcasts do. Not this one. This one has a whole bunch of shit on top of it, right? So yeah, we need to be able to and we need to be able to.
Oh my! And you know,
we've got to be able to do that. So
yeah,
they said you could put all your files, you know, email them or bring a USB drive or whatever the day of, and that they'll have this producer there. And I'm like, oh, so is that person going to be pushing the button? Am I going to be pushing? How's this going to work?
Yeah, because how will they know?
Yeah, because if I have to be like, oh, he's dead, Jim, and then look at this person off stage and give them a cue or something, that's going to be stupid. How do I communicate to this producer off stage and which one to play next? And do I give them a copy of my notes that has the triggers and the, you know, cues?
And they
in
really
it?
have to pay attention.
Yeah. I don't think they know what they stepped in when they invited us to do this.
I mean, we're so high maintenance.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, I don't know. Are all podcasters high maintenance?
No, the good ones are. No, for like, so there's different categories of podcasts. There's some that are just a couple of people that turn on a microphone and chat, and they don't have like commercial breaks, and they don't have, they have an intro and an outro, and that's it. So that's probably what they're expecting most podcasts to be.
We're not that, though.
That's not us.
We're ridiculous. We're ridiculous, and I think we're fun. So.
Yeah. But it's their first year.
Okay.
So, right, maybe they'll learn some things. And because my question was, can I just bring my laptop and plug in?
I was going to ask, that was my next question. What all do you have to bring?
Just my notes.
That's it?
Like, that's it.
Not even your laptop?
No.
Okay.
I mean, my notes are on my laptop, but that's it.
All right.
So that's it. We show up. The mics are all set up. They're going to video the whole thing and put it like...
We got this. We'll figure out a way to do it.
So speaking of our table, we have a community space registered. And I'm trying to figure out if we need to... Well, I asked them, what should we do? Because community tables are forbidden to sell things. And you know us, we bring our merch with us when we go out on tour. So we want to have our t-shirts and our mugs and our stickers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like otherwise they can't get any of our stuff.
We have to go online and order it and wait for it to ship, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So I asked, I said, oops, I didn't realize this was the policy. But here's the thing, and this is another one of those, like, this is your first year organizing this event. Here's the thing that I think maybe you could think about for future events. And all cons have this problem right now. There's a vendor area. We don't fit in the vendor area. We're not selling fucking pop vinyl and comic books and shit like that, right? We're selling tour merch. We're like a band that sells tour merch, right? So then there's Artist Alley, and they all have an Artist Alley, and that's where there's like people who are drawing shit, and like, they have their prints of their art, and they're drawing comics, and that's not really us either.
Yeah.
And then there's this community area, which is I thought was the best fit because it's just like, hey, come meet us, If you listen to the show, come meet us, then listen to the show. Like, and it's just another way to meet people. Yeah. But we also like to sell our merch.
So I'm wondering I don't know if that's something you can ask. Do the other podcast people have a booth?
Right. And I don't know that.
Okay.
But yeah, and so what are they doing?
I mean, and I guess it's a little bit of a different
Maybe they're
vibe.
Not bringing merch because we're just so fucking high maintenance that we gotta have all our shit with us.
I mean,
you know me. When I do things, I don't fuck around. We do them.
Do all the way.
I sat down a couple nights ago and redid our Dabo wheel.
Right.
Where before it was spin to figure out which prize you get. And now it's spin to figure out what series of Star Trek you're going to get a question about.
On. Right.
And to do that, I had to design the thing in Photoshop. export it, open it up in my Cricut program,
Oh, yeah.
run it through the Cricut thing, and then
Cut it.
with this little fucking, I had to cut it, and where did it go? With this little fucking hook thing, I peeled each one of those letters out.
Fuck that.
That's how that's made.
Fuck that, Sarah. Fuck all of that.
This is how
Wow.
I do. So maybe they're just not expecting me.
I don't know.
They haven't met me yet.
But I think they need you. Like, if they want to think about future cons, I think you'd be great.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that can be done that's not already being done.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. My final plead, if you're in the Denver area, or you can be, come on down, come say hi to us, come check out our panel and we get a table, a panel, and a live show. So
Oh my God.
there's like so much going on.
Okay, what do we do with the booth?
I have hired my teenage son to run the booth.
Okay,
Yeah.
when we're not there.
And Becca might even come too. And I got to thinking about the episode that we're going to perform live. Should we announce? We haven't talked about that. Should we announce what we're doing?
Yeah, sure.
We're doing the next episode in line.
Yeah, which is perfect.
It was so good.
It was a suggestion by someone on Facebook.
Yes.
So it was perfect.
Yeah. So we're going to do.
Is there? I hate the title of this because I'm not Shakespeare. I don't speak like this.
Is there in truth no beauty?
Yeah.
So we are going to be performing Humanist Trek podcast. Is there in Star Trek podcasting no beauty? Will be the show that we do live, and so we've got to figure that out.
We've got to really figure out how to condense it.
We need to bring Becca on to do the answer to the question.
Mm-hmm.
Live at the thing.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. So
Okay.
she's going to be there at least some of the time too. So that'll be cool. You can come out and meet Becca.
Also, these are the things I'm having anxiety about. What's the venue like? Like, are they putting us in a room or is it a stage? I mean, I have no idea.
Right. I assume it's like, it's hotel conference space. So they're going to have rooms divided off with the little wall, movie wall things and that sort of thing. There's a stage. The way they describe the podcast stage is very anxiety inducing. Like,
oh, Jesus.
Lights,
what?
cameras, action, the whole nine.
No. Oh, God, I feel sick.
Run out of that cave, Allie. There's an alien in the cave.
I'm going to take some cyanide and whatever and
God.
off myself.
Like they did in Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 4, and the children shall lead.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Mr. Sulu, yes, get anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
This episode drops us right into a big old Star Trek mystery. KSM beamed down to planet Foam Rock, paint the soundstage purple. They're responding to a distress call from the scientific colony there, and right away, there's dead people.
Oh my gosh, you stole my joke because I was going to say, Spock leans over to Kirk and he says, I see dead people.
We think alike.
I know. Bodies are everywhere.
But one of them, behind a rock, starts moving and sort of struggles to stand up, and he's holding a heater. And I was expecting him to try to fire on the away team.
Me too. I was really scared, but he was too unsteady. He couldn't even speak. Kirk recognizes him as Professor Starnes, who's the leader of the exploration expedition. And he just seems, a little bit out of it.
He tries to talk to him, but Starnes is just like off in another world, and then he collapses into Kirk's arms.
Oh my God! They've killed
Professor Starnes.
you bastards!
Kirk takes the tricorder from him, off his dead body, but then they go over to this female laying there, her dead body, and they turn her over and they pull something out of her mouth.
It's like a little shot glass or something.
Like as if they knew it was there.
Right.
Whatever.
My lifeguard training was I'm checking for glass, gas, fires, wires, making sure this area is safe for me and safe for you and blah, blah, blah. And sir, can you hear me? Then I'm going to look for visible signs of breathing. Then I'm going to finger sweep the mouth. Like, you don't stick your finger in the mouth. That's not the first thing you do.
Isn't maybe that's what they do to women. I don't know.
Ooh. So They take the shot glass out of her mouth
Right.
and give it a sniff, and Kirk recognizes the smell, and he hands it to McCoy, and McCoy's like, Jim, they Jim Jones themselves.
First of all, this drove me nuts. Like, they're going to sniff it.
First of all, how safe is that?
I know.
Here, let me have a taste while I'm at it too.
Like, it just came from her mouth. That's disgusting. And then they're going to sniff it. So I just thought that was funny.
That is, yeah.
But yeah, so it looks like they all off themselves. Like,
Mhm.
well, yeah, Jim
It was
Jones.
Jonestown, yeah. Kirk flips open Starn's tricorder and replays the last recording, and we hear Starn's voice freaking out, saying, "Must destroy ourselves, aliens upon us, the enemy from within, the enemy." And Kirk's like, fuck.
Not again.
Not the enemy within again. Now we got to find their duplicates and transport them back together.
It's so much trouble.
Keep an eye out for unipuppies, too.
Well, suddenly in the background, they hear the unmistakable sound of children's high-pitched voices, and 5 kids come running out of the cave, and they're chasing each other all around the dead bodies, like as if it didn't happen.
Do you remember Children of the Corn?
I do, but geez.
Here it is.
It's like they didn't even, and I'm assuming these are their parents.
Yeah.
So no reaction.
So they come out and they ask who KSM are, and the oldest boy introduces himself as Tommy Starnes. Yep, there you go, Starnes' son.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The other kids are Mary, Steve, Ray, and Dawn. What is this? Some kind of Partridge Family Jackson 5 group or something?
I know. Well, yeah.
Yes. Did you recognize kids?
Yes.
I did too.
Of course, Ray.
Uh-huh.
We met him at Retromania, and it was so cool.
Yeah, it's Brian Tochi.
Yeah.
Of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fame, too.
Yeah.
That's what he's really known for. He was so cool to meet, and yeah, those guys were so great to hang out with. Mary is played by Pamela Ferdin, who went on to voice the little girl in the classic 1973 Charlotte's Web,
Oh.
which I probably watched a million times as a kid. Little Steve is played by Caesar Belli, who's the son of Melvin Belli, who plays Gorgon,
Right.
also in this episode. We haven't met him yet. And then Mark Robert Brown played Don, who went on to making a guest appearance on the Bill Cosby Show. Hey, hey, hey!
The
original Bill Cosby,
Okay.
the Bill Cosby. Well,
Okay.
yeah, it wasn't the Cosby Show. It was
Okay.
the Bill Cosby Show.
Gotcha.
Older show, I think. Hey, hey, hey!
I don't know.
Sure.
I thought when they come in, I don't know if you do a lot of flipping through TikTok and Reels and stuff, but they do this song with cats,
Okay.
and they introduce them to all the names of the devil.
I have not
Okay,
heard this.
let me see if you can.
I love that. That's amazing.
It's a song.
What the hell is that?
It's a song. It's an actual song by Ghost.
What the fuck?
And I hear, and the people take that part of the song. It's the very first part, and they clip it and they put it to cats because they're evil.
Right.
They're not evil.
So that's what you heard as these kids come out.
Yeah. As we're introducing them, I'm like, this is perfect. Because they're all fucking evil.
Well, speaking of creepy music, they kind of pull on Kirk's arm. Mary's like, come play with us. And they form a circle and they start dancing Ring Around the Rosie around Kirk.
Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, all down.
All 3 of them, KSM, they're completely baffled. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Now, before we go to the theme, let's take a minute to talk about Ring Around the Rosie.
Oh, the meaning.
Well, there is a belief that it's not like settled science or whatever, but there's a belief that this so-called nursery rhyme may have been some kind of oral tradition communicating either about the bubonic plague or smallpox epidemics.
Yep.
But I didn't really find like any direct evidence either way. People just kind of correlate the two. So correlation does not equal causation, friends. Still, if this belief was persistent in the 60s,
right,
that's what it was about, for sure, I thought, Sarah, is this what the writers are trying to communicate about what's happening on the planet? in a childlike sing-songy way?
Oh, I
Are
didn't
they,
even think about that.
like, is there, so my thought here went to, well, kind of know what they think the song means. So is there like a virus or some kind of communicable disease that only affects the adults? And that was a foreshadowing by the writers.
That's deep, Sarah.
I was way too deep because that ain't right.
I don't know. You've got a good point there. I remember learning about Ring Around the Roses being something about the plague.
Right.
Something about the ashes because they did burn the bodies. And then there was some way to mark people or houses that have, and I could be just making this up.
Right. I read something about like the red splotches.
Yeah, ring around
or the ring, and then the posies
Pocket
had
full
some
of
meaning
posies.
too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
Some time has passed now, and KSM have 3D printed gravestone markers or
I
something.
know.
Where the hell did they get those?
Right? They've buried them. So
Oh,
they've
yeah.
made quick work of burying the party, the exploration party. And then Kirk makes a captain's log about how everybody's deeply affected about what happened here, with some important exceptions, talking about the kids.
And on important exceptions, the camera cuts over to the Children of the Corn, and it starts playing this really creepy, like minor key version of Ring Around the Rosie.
I didn't know.
While the kids,
either.
yeah, it's just
Oh.
these next couple of episodes, I really noticed like, and maybe this is a season 3 thing. And once you get past Box Brain, but like an attention to the, because that was awful.
Yeah.
An attention to detail in the filmmaking stuff, like the way things are shot and the communicating visually, seems to have kicked it up a notch this episode and next specifically.
I read in season 3 that, I don't know if it was, a lot of the writers weren't there anymore. Like the old, like Gene Kuhn and, is it Kuhn?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And DC Fontana. And then Roddenberry, I think.
It kind of stepped away.
Yeah. But he still had some hands in certain episodes. But they lost a lot of the writers. So I'm wondering if they were just focusing on
the visual elements instead.
Yeah.
Interesting. This may be the first time we've seen that United Federation of Planets pennant thing, isn't it?
I think so.
I don't think we've seen that before.
No. I mean, I know they called it UFP,
Right.
but I've never seen a flag.
I also think this was around a time when Gene was like pushing merchandise as a financial piece of the Star Trek empire. So the United Federation of Pennant thing is a item you can sell and turn into pins and all kinds of shit.
Hey, we like that.
Yep.
We like that idea.
Oh, yeah. So these kids are like nudging each other kind of one by one down the line until finally Mary's like, fuck this, let's go play.
Yeah.
And off the kids go to play tag. And that leaves KSM to discuss this kids don't seem affected thing.
Spock says that they don't seem to fear anything. And, they discuss like how they feel maybe they seem completely secure and unafraid. McCoy suggests that it's some kind of traumatic shock. And he also says that maybe it's something called lacunar amnesia, which I had to look up because I didn't know what the fuck that was. It's just a type of memory loss that's characterized by the inability to recall specific events or information.
Okay.
But
how's that differ from any other amnesia?
But it's often due to damage or dysfunction in the brain's memory processing regions. But these kids didn't have any like trauma.
Right.
But he
physical trauma. Yeah, they had emotional trauma.
Yeah. But that was his analysis.
Well, Kirk finds this idea hard to buy, but Spock has a great line that can be taken into several other contexts. He says, humans do have an amazing capacity for believing what they choose and excluding that which is painful. And I thought, like the fact that masking and stay-at-home orders really did help slow and finally end the COVID-19 pandemic, or the idea that after we die, that's all there is, game over, or maybe the truth that President Trump lost that election.
Oh, no, not the T word. Oh, but yeah.
Yeah, we love to like the confirmation bias is strong in this one.
Yeah, we already feel a certain way, so we try to model our beliefs around it. So we feel good and comfortable.
Exactly. Kirk wants to question the kids, but McCoy thinks forcing them to face the issue too soon could make things worse, including permanent damage. Okay.
Whatever.
Cut back to the kids playing freeze tag. It looks like 3 of them are frozen. And little Don comes running towards KSM and knocks over the UFP banner. And Kirk's like, hey, you little shit. Get back here.
That little kid, he was very respectful. He's like, I'm sorry, Captain Kirk. Kirk is like, I'm going to have to break up your little party here. It's time to go back to the ship. And then the kids do the normal, oh, I don't want to.
Do we have to? Yeah.
Because they was like, I'm just beginning to have fun.
That's the worst part of, like, it's not the worst part, but I'm thinking of having young kids and how hard it is to, like, they're playing together and then the parent comes and says, okay, it's time to go home. And they just.
And you're the enemy.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh,
so, yeah.
Yeah. The parents are the bad guys.
So, yeah, it's time to go back up to the ship. And
Kirk's like, go on then, go with the doctor. And McCoy's like, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a daddy. So McCoy takes the kids to beam up, leaving Kirk and Spock to discuss this mystery. So the going hypothesis is that some outside force must have caused the adults into mass suicide. Jim Jones, perhaps. Whether intentional or malevolent is yet to be seen, and the children of the Corn being immune is still a whole-ass mystery with no clues. And then Spock's tricorder beeps and boops.
Uh-oh.
Did he just forget to turn it off? Does it not go into standby mode after a
Apparently.
minute?
Remember that one time they were hiding?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Fucking going on. And tipped them off to the Klingons. I don't know. I don't know how this works. But anyway, they end up, it's coming from that cave. Of course it is.
Of course it is.
So they go into this cave.
Why would you just wander off into this cave?
I mean...
We have a planet full of adults. So here are the facts at hand. We have a planet full of dead adults.
The kids are fine.
Kids are fine. And you're just like, oh, there's a life form coming from the cave. Let's go check it out.
Life forms. Kirk wants to know if he's picking up any life forms because it was their understanding that there weren't, in previous scans, there weren't any life forms. Spock says it's definitely not humanoid, but he's picking up something, but he can't make an identification. And then Kirk, with his overacting, a shiver goes through his body. Like,
he gets a cold chill.
Yeah.
And he freaks out. He's got a sudden strong feeling of anxiety as if his friend and podcast co-host had just signed them up for a panel and a live show.
Yeah. What the fuck? I get you. I feel you. I feel you, Kirk.
So, of course, Spock being Vulcan, he has no emotion, so he can't feel this anxiety. But it's so bad that Kirk squicks out and runs out of the cave, and back outside, he seems to be fine again. Okay, so there's something in the cave.
Right. Or something. Kirk says it's a sympathetic vibration with what happened here.
That was some wooey language.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
But he's like, I want to check out the rest of the tapes that Professor Starnes had, and I am going to question them kids.
Mm-hmm. On the Enterprise, Chapel is buying the children's love with ice cream. Now, this was
she's being a really good babysitter.
This was a fun bit of prop work too, because normally we have our 3.25 floppy disk or whatever, 3.5-inch floppy disk, and now these are like differently colored. They're not the orange and green and shit that we've seen before, but there's like one has pink and green and white, and one has brown, and these are
ice cream colors.
Ice cream colors, yeah.
And they're little, I guess, discs, or that's how you program the replicator to give you what ice cream you want.
Apparently.
Preset flavors, I guess. So she's like, what kind do you want? Call out your favorites. And they're like...
They got all grabby.
Yeah.
They just start grabbing these things out of her hands. Now, I work in a cafeteria now at an elementary school where these age kids would be. And I'm here to tell you, if that shit happened at our school, there'd be a bunch of old ladies yelling.
But you can't touch them.
Anyway, all the kids grab a floppy disk except Steve, who I guess needs a little more coaxing. So Chapel's like, hey, how about a surprise? And hands him a floppy disk. And this was an interesting childhood lesson that I really like this moment. So the food dispenser opens up and he's like, ugh, coconut and vanilla. This is fucking stupid.
He made a comment that they're both white. What the fuck does that mean? Should I read anything into that? I have no idea.
I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah. And so Chapel is like, well, listen, in life, there are both unpleasant surprises as well as pleasant surprises. You can't expect, the surprise is always going to be good.
Right.
which I thought was an interesting, like, I don't think I've ever heard it put in such a simple expression as that.
Yeah.
So,
because we always assume surprises are a
yeah,
good thing.
yeah. But like, surprise, I'm pregnant is not always a good thing. Anyway, Chapel's a great parent here. So she asks what he wants for his pleasant surprise instead. And why she didn't ask him to just what do you want in the first place? I don't know, but okay. Then he chooses chocolate wobble, pistachio, which is disgusting to me, and peach all together.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It sounds gross.
Yeah.
But hey.
But don't yuck my yum, I guess, right?
I don't mind pistachio, but I don't know what chocolate wobble is.
I mean, together, like chocolate, pistachio, and peach together.
You never know. It could be good.
It could.
Anyway, he gets a bigger bowl this time. So, hey, that's a nice surprise.
In the hallway, McCoy delivers a classic "I'm the doctor, but I have no answers," Jim report.
But you still need to do what I tell you.
But you need to do something.
Yeah.
The kids aren't lying. There's nothing wrong with him physically, and there's no signs of foreign biochemical substances to account for their present state. So McCoy's not in love with this idea, but Kirk's going to question them. And his approach to this is, I'm going to have some ice cream too.
Yeah, so he sits down. You know how adults do. They kind of like try to get down to the kids' level to get them to trust them. So that's what he does. And, you know, he says, how do you like this ice cream? Having this ice cream, it's better than Triacus, right? And he gets the kids talking about the planet and how they didn't.
Boy, do they hate this planet.
Yeah, they didn't like it at all. They didn't like it because their parents loved it so much and they were always working. And that was the thing and they said parents like stupid things. And Chapel was trying to reason with them and get them to think in response to them saying parents like stupid things. She says, well, I don't know. Parents like children. And then Mary says something like, that's what you think. So that seems to me that they were a little bit bitter towards their parents.
Yeah, this was very interesting to me as a parent because that's something that I've worried about, right? The not having enough time for family, overworking, sort of, workaholic kind of thing.
You?
And that, And I say that because I grew up with my father working third shift a lot of my young years.
Mm-hmm.
And so he slept all day and worked at night, and I didn't really see him. And I think that is a component of why we don't have a very robust relationship now, because we just didn't have that time together growing up. And so, like I really get this, and I get the way these kids feel about they're just,
And they're kids. They don't understand this whole space thing. They're just, and the parents have taken them along for the ride.
Right. Yeah.
But what the fuck are they supposed to do other than play? And what they're,
Yeah. So this was very interesting scene. I like this.
Kirk assures them, I'm sure they loved you. That's why they took you with them. But they're not feeling that,
Yeah, that's what Annika Hansen's parents thought too.
My feelings are irrelevant.
But yeah. So the kids do something really, really strange when Kirk starts talking about, I'm sure that you would miss them if they didn't take you with them. And then they stop. And then they start saying, busy.
They all get up and start chanting this while they're running around the room. Dawn says, guess what we are? And Chapel guesses, a swarm of bees. And to further demonstrate this, Mary runs up to Kirk and says, watch out, I'll sting you. So they're busy bees, right? And Kirk picks up Mary and she starts poking him, sting.
Not in a cute way. She was really, really trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the classic wet blanket of parenthood drops on the room.
Again.
The kids ask for more ice cream, and Kirk's like, no, it'll spoil your dinner. And Tommy's like, see, all these fucking adults are the same. Adults are stupid.
Yep.
They're all the same. And then Kirk's like, yep, and it's time for bed. So off you go. Sends him off with Chapel to tuck them in, but he keeps Tommy back for further questioning. Tommy's very clearly the older, leader
type.
of the group. And this was a good move because this conversation is very enlightening. He asks Tommy about seeing things in the cave, but that doesn't yield anything useful. But when he talks about Tommy's father, Tommy's like, yeah, I saw him today. He was upset, but he's always upset about something. Kirk asks if he's unhappy about leaving Triacus, but Tommy's like, that place is for adults. Fuck Triacus. He's like, aren't you unhappy about leaving your parents? And then the lights start coming on. Tommy's like, my parents love it down there. He says, as if he thinks they're still alive.
Even though they've run around over their dead bodies, it is still, I think Kirk is now getting it, that it didn't register to them that they're even dead.
Mm-hmm. He gets a little verklempt as he says, my parents are always busy.
Mm-hmm.
Busy, huh? Like busy, 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 busy. So Tommy heads off to bed, and Kirk calls up security to post guards on the kids.
This is a smart thing that he did, although it, didn't help. But I'm just saying, like, this is more precaution than he normally takes when he brings fucking people on the ship. I'm like, yes, put a guard on them 24/7. But
although later the guard brings them to the bridge. So
yeah.
Smash cut to the children all in a circle with their hands in the middle, like holding each other's hands together, and they're spinning slowly and chanting, "Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the east, powers of air and invention. Hear me, us, hear us." Hail, do you know what this is from?
No.
Hail to the guardians of the watchtowers of the south, powers of fire and feeling. Hear us. This is from The Craft.
Oh, no.
Which
I mean, I've seen it, but
I was a horny
remember.
teenager and into hot witchy girls at the time. So it was like, The Craft. Who was in that? Okay, this was Nev Campbell.
Oh, no. Okay, no. I'm thinking of a different.
Feruza Balk, Nev Campbell, Robin Tooney, Rachel True.
Okay, I'm thinking of another witchy movie.
Yeah. Anyway.
So they're summoning a demon. I mean, because that's how you get a demon.
It's not a demon. It's the friendly angel. Be careful what you summon. Is that the lesson here?
Yep.
And sure enough, the friendly angel soon appears in front of them in like a semi-transparent, glowing green humanoid form.
And one of the kids goes, "Dad," which actually is one of his dad.
So this is Gorgon, played by Melvin Belly, actual father to one of the kids in this episode. And apparently, I read that his casting in this role was not loved by all of the cast.
Really?
He wasn't an actor. And they were kind of like annoyed that like
he's taking a role.
It's a guest spot.
Yeah.
It's a guest star role.
And it's really not that involved. You just stand there in a big dress.
Right.
And with a green screen in front of you. And
do you know who this guy actually is? So Melvin Belly famously was the attorney for Jack Ruby, who shot Lee Harvey Oswald days after the assassination of President Kennedy.
Wow. I did not know that.
That's who this guy is.
Wow.
Yeah. So I read that there were some main cast members who were not thrilled that he was cast in this role. But Gorgon gets an epic evil monologue.
It's pretty long.
It is.
Sable Incorporated.
You have done well, my friends. You have done what must be done. You have come aboard the Enterprise. Now our destination is a Federation settlement. Captain Kirk will undoubtedly choose a closer station. Don't let him. So this whole thing is like instructions for these kids. They're going to take over the ship and take it to Marcus 12.
Marcus 12 has millions of people. And the more people will join them. And everybody else is going to be their enemy. I mean, it's a major evil plan. Everybody who isn't their enemy will be defeated, and they'll be invincible, and all this other bullshit.
So, to accomplish this great mission, they must control the Enterprise, and to control the Enterprise, they have to control the crew, and the kids already know how to do that. They did that on the planet. So, up you go. Get these crew members under control. And this is Jim Jones. Gorgon is the Jim Jones of the group of these kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing that he kept saying and repeating at the end was really bothersome.
It was.
And as you believe, so shall you do. And he kept saying, so shall you do.
Yeah. And we go to commercial with the children like banging their fists on the table to the beat of this chant. Real creepy.
What is it about any show, any movie where the kids are the antagonist or the evil one? What is it about it that makes it so creepy and scary?
Right. Because you don't expect children to behave in that way. And so it's very off-putting.
Yeah. Very much. Children of the Corn.
Yep. Back from the break, Spock appears on the bridge with a floppy disk containing a summary of Professor Starn's tapes, including a number of rather unscientific hypotheses. So we get right into a clip show of some of these log entries. The first one, Starn talks about the growing feeling of uneasiness that he first waved away as like new mission jitters, but it's been getting worse. And interestingly, the anxiety only seems to affect the adults. He's like, to be young again. The second clip shows an even more anxious Starnes, and in the third, he talks about Professor Wilkins having just finished an excavation that day, which shows that, despite whatever civilization might have been living there being destroyed by some natural cause, it seems at least one of that race hid out in the cave.
Damn. Well, here comes Tommy to the bridge, and I don't think they notice him coming in as they're talking about that.
Why did the security guard bring him to the bridge?
I'm assuming
He
because
was under control.
He did the whole shake your fist, rock, flower, lightning.
Yeah, you rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I'm controlling your brain.
Yep. It's all telepathic, I guess.
Oh my God.
But they don't seem to notice that he's on the bridge. They keep watching the stuff, and they get to an important part of the video that could be helpful, and Tommy starts shaking his fist.
Apparently, this kid has some special powers because the video of his father on the screen goes all crazy, wonky, and cuts off. There's a great almost jump scare moment here when Kirk turns around and there's Tommy like right behind him because he hadn't seen him come in.
He's like, I didn't see you.
Tommy's like, hey, could you take us to Marcos 12? And Kirk's like, sorry, kid, that's out of our area, but we'll take you to a starbase. And then he tells Spock that they'll continue this investigation in his quarters. So Spock and Kirk are leaving the bridge, and Tommy's like, hey, can I just, hang around and watch everybody work or whatever? And Kirk's like, sure. What?
I know. Get this kid off the bridge. But again, he thought he was safe with the security guard. He doesn't realize the security guard is under his spell.
Right. They really need some like security access restrictions or something on the bridge. Remember Charlie X?
I know. This is like
Is this
Charlie
what we're going to do again?
Jr.
Yeah.
Didn't learn nothing.
So Kirk and Spock leave to meet up with McCoy, and Tommy goes down to the con between Sulu and Chekhov and starts rock, flower, lightning fist thing again. This time controlling Sulu to leave orbit on course to Marcos 12.
Sulu just rock, fire, lightning. Sulu just blinks. Then he reaches over and just messes with the dials. And next thing you know, they're off away from the planet.
Tommy rock, flower, lightning at Chekhov now when Scotty steps off the elevator with Mary, and Mary comes down to stand next to Tommy. A bit of exposition here reveals that Tommy's fist-pumping magic thing has caused Sulu and Chekhov to see Triaca still on the view screen, even though the kids see the stars flying on the view screen as the ship moves through space.
Uhura sees it too, but she happens to turn around and she does like a double take. She's like, what the fuck? And she sees that they're flying through space. She's like trying to get Sulu's attention, saying, hey, we're out of orbit. But then Tommy rock, flower, lightning fist pumps her too. And she sits her ass back down. And she's like, okay.
Meanwhile, Don is sneaking around engineering. Where is his guard?
He got away from him. I don't know.
I guess. So he rock, flower, lightnings some engineers, and Scotty comes in all, why the fuck did we leave orbit? But not only do the engineers think they are still in orbit, they're willing to fight Scotty to keep him from the controls.
Yeah.
There's not enough here for a Star Trek fight. Scotty's taken down pretty quickly. He must have had a few drinks before he went to work that day.
Well, I mean, it was 2 against 1.
In Kirk's quarters, KSM are again reviewing Starn's tapes. The final entry describes being influenced to do things like call up Starfleet and request a transport ship. And then when he couldn't tell them what he wanted to transport, that's when he started thinking like, oh, hang on, maybe I'm being mind probed or something. He says he sent a dispatch to Starfleet to warn them that this was happening. Definitely an alien, and he says they must destroy themselves. And again with the enemy within here.
Is that how you talk when like you
Go mad?
Yeah.
You must.
The enemy within. Yeah.
But Spock says that warning to Starfleet never got sent. Other than what they've just watched, the only records are of family life, children playing and stuff like that. Old home movies, VHS tapes.
Children were fine. So at some point, the children, I mean, it must have been okay for a little while, and it took a while for them to become brainwashed.
Spock says that whatever happened must have happened quickly. Otherwise, the professor would have provided more details in his recordings, being a highly trained scientist and all. He was tireless in his pursuit of the truth. And Kirk suggests maybe that's what destroyed him. And Spock's got a great line here.
100%. I bolded it because, yes.
It's so good. Spock says, evil does seek to maintain power by suppressing the truth. And McCoy mutters, fucking Republicans.
But actually, McCoy has a point, too. He says,
does.
Or by misleading the innocent.
And that puts Kirk onto the scent. Perhaps the innocent, the children of the corn, are involved somehow. So Spock turns down the lights and he shines a flashlight up his face from below and he starts telling the legend of Triacus. Once upon a time, on a night quite like tonight. Apparently there's a legend that says Triacus was home to a band of marauders who made constant war throughout the Epsilon Indy system. But after many centuries, the tables turned and they were destroyed by the very people that they had been preying upon. But the legend also says that the evil is awaiting a catalyst to set it into motion again and send it marauding across the galaxy. Ooh.
This sounds like, instead of aliens, it does sound like a very much a supernatural type of ghost story.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, am I watching Star Trek?
McCoy leaves, but not before warning Kirk that they need to release the grief from these kids or it could be super dangerous. Kirk and Spock discuss the whole what would Starnes need with a starship question. What would God need with a starship? And Kirk calls up for a shift rotation on the security detachment on the planet, and he'll want to personally debrief the team that's beaming back up.
Okay. Why didn't they attempt to call the detachment that was already on the planet and say, hey,
right,
we're going to beam you up?
Right.
Because they would have avoided this whole next scene.
Well, and maybe the kids' mental telepathy power or whatever made them think that they had called, that they saw on the screen that there's their life signs and we're going to beam them up.
Okay, that could have been.
Right?
Maybe
if they're making people see shit.
That could be. That would make sense. And now I'm not as mad.
Time to find out whether Starnes' enemy within is on the planet or on the Enterprise. Then all we have to do is get them both on the transporter and beam them back together. Down in the transporter room, a couple of red shirts are standing on the transporter pad as Kirk and Spock come ripping in. And Kirk gives them orders and they're beamed away. And then Kirk says, all right, beam up the other two from the planet. But the transporter just kind of flashes a few times and nothing happens. Even Spock takes over the controls. He's like, oh, hey, here, let me try. But it's no use because there's nothing to lock on to because they're not at the planet anymore.
And I'm thinking, Jesus, what happened to those guys? Oh, no.
They were beamed into space.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. They've killed
Security detachment.
you bastards.
I was so mad. I'm like, that is the most fucked up death I've so far, I think.
Yeah, I think so, too.
They weren't really sad about it. I mean, they're like, oops, we fucked up.
Right.
On to the next thing.
Yeah.
I mean.
Spock ties into the bridge monitor screen on the wall, and they're moving through the stars. Kirk calls up the bridge and argues with Sulu about whether or not they're still orbiting Triacus. Sulu's under mind control now. All the kids are on the bridge now, and they circle up and put their hands in the middle and start calling to the guardians of the watchtowers of the east or whatever, and calling the friendly angel again as Kirk and Spock come busting onto the bridge. And sure enough, Gorgon appears on the upper deck by the turbo lift.
And everybody turns and they're like, what the fuck? So Gorgon gives another evil monologue.
Doofenshmirtz Incorporated.
He kind of ignores the crew and he talks only to the children. And he says, we've reached a moment of crisis. The enemy has discovered our operation, but they are too late. plans are already in motion. We control the ship. They'll take us any place we want.
He's like, if they mount any kind of resistance, call upon their fear, just like we did on Triacus. And if that doesn't work, they'll meet their end, just like those on Triacus. Marcos 12 is our new beginning. Call me if you need anything, make it so. And he vanishes again.
And their beast or whatever I guess it taps into whatever they're most afraid of.
Yeah. That's how they control them, through their fears.
And I know that there's, which planet was that? That was the Alice in Wonderland planet.
Uh-huh.
That whole planet tapped into their fears.
I kept trying to find the right point in this episode to think, this reminds me of Miri, too, where the children, got to a certain age and then died or whatever, and then whatever that was. It was an identical planet to Earth, and we were in Mayberry.
A disease. It was Mayberry.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Tommy kind of is like the captain. He's the captain now. He's like, tells the kids, go to your stations, and then Mary, stay here with him. And
so she must be the lieutenant. She's second in command.
She's Spock.
Yeah.
Right? She's his number one.
Kirk tries to order Sulu to disregard whatever he sees on the screen and set a course for Starbase 4, but Tommy Rockflower lightnings again. And now Sulu sees swords on the screen like a fucking Windows 98 screensaver.
I know. And what is so scary about that? I would just be like, what's on my screen?
Yeah, that's weird. He's tripping balls.
Yeah, he's totally tripping balls.
Kirk orders Uhura to call up Starbase 4 and let them know we're bringing children who are possibly aliens. That's a call you don't want to have to make. Hey, we're on our way, and by the way,
these kids are alien.
Got some creepy kids on board.
And I think that's what makes it also hard about when kids are evil in a movie, because you're gonna have to kill them, and it's really hard for us to kill a kid. Yeah. Uhura
starts to make the call, and apparently there's a mirror at Uhura's station now.
And apparently her fear is dying and being old and having to, I think that's a normal fear of everyone, but she's in this mirror, she sees this horrible makeup job of herself like 100 years old, and she's all gnarly and looking, and she's like, I see my death, a long death of disease and pain. I see my death. And so she kind of loses it. So she's pretty much useless.
Yeah. So Kirk tells Spock to make the call to Starfleet, and then he goes back to Sulu and tries to get him to change course again, but he's like zoned out watching these swords on the screen. But when Kirk tries to reach over and change course himself, Sulu freaks out. He's been made to think that they'll be destroyed if anything on his console gets moved. So Kirk, this is great too. There's a lot of this coming up in Star Trek. Kirk grabs Sulu by the face and kind of shakes him up a little bit.
What's wrong, man?
Snap out of it, man. Worse, now Spock has been affected.
And I thought he would be the last person
I
to
expected
do it.
As the Vulcan strength of his brain or whatever. Yeah.
He says, Captain, why are we bothering Starfleet? And I'm like, shit. And the bridge is under complete control, which his calm, he wasn't freaking out and anxiety like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
He was just calm, and that's what was more scary. I wonder what Vulcans are like afraid of.
Emotion.
No. Yeah.
So there's a moment where you kind of feel like Spock is struggling against this mind control, but ultimately he pulls his hand away from the communications button and turns around and says, I cannot obey your order, Captain. So Spock's gone now. We cut around the bridge again, Uhura seeing herself old, Sulu seeing the sword screensaver. Kirk goes over to Leslie guarding the elevator doors and starts ordering him to take Sulu to his quarters.
And suddenly we hear Missy Elliott's song, Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's here, flipping it and right here. Because everything is coming out of his mouth is gibberish. It's like they've sped it up and then they've also played it backwards on top of that.
And they did. I took those bits and reversed them, thinking that's what it was, and we were correct.
Take Mr. Sulu to his quarters.
And Mr. Spock from the bridge. Confine them to quarters. Mr. Leslie, take Mr. Sulu to his quarters.
So they had 2 tracks. The one that was the normal way and one that was either
They
slowed
kind of
down
mixed
or
them together.
sped up or something. Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Mr. Spock. Remove Lieutenant Uhura and Mr. Spock from the bridge. Confine them to quarters.
So it's just essentially the clips from that scene flipped backwards and slowed up and sped down and
Yep.
slowed up and sped down.
Slowed up, slowed down, and
Slowed
sped
down and sped up. Jesus. During this, they cut to Spock a couple of times with this pained expression on his face. And then he puts his fingers to his head and we hear Kirk say, "Did you hear me?" And I thought, yes, Vulcan for the win here. Like it was gibberish, gibberish, gibberish. And then Spock fingers himself.
Right.
And then now he can understand Kirk.
I wish I could do that.
The camera cuts over to Tommy and Mary, looking very smug and proud of themselves. Kirk turns to walk toward Tommy, but rock flower lightning again, and suddenly Kirk is a ball of anxiety. Overacting again. Overacting Shatner.
I'm losing command. I'm losing command. I'm losing the ability to command. And he's losing the Enterprise, and that's his fear.
Spock has apparently broken free of the control and tells Kirk, like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And he grabs him by the arm and they rush into the turbo lift as Kirk keeps freaking out.
And he's like, shakes him, get a hold of yourself, man. And I mean, they get real close.
Yeah.
And Spock finally helps him get a hold of himself. Kirk comes back to his senses and he says, I've got command. I've got command. And Spock is like, okay, where to?
So they head to auxiliary control to try to retake the Enterprise and get to Starbase 4. But Scotty's down there, and he and his engineers have all been mind controlled. So Scotty refuses to override bridge navigation because he says it would upset the delicate balance of these very sensitive instruments. What?
His fear is overworking his precious engines and all of the stuff. They try to start a little bit of a fight here.
Again, like, grabs him by the shoulders and gives him a shake. And he's like, listen, damn it, there's aliens here. They've taken over the Enterprise. Your Enterprise, Scotty. But it's no use.
And they go back into the corridors. They're like giving up and having to resort to plan B, whatever that is.
In the hallway, Kirk reassures Spock that his beast is finished. No more fear, not stoked by the alien beings. But Spock warns that as long as these children are here, there's still danger. There was a great discussion here about how the children are carriers. And while they're not the malevolent alien beings themselves, they are followers. And without followers, evil cannot spread.
Woo!
Right?
Preach. Yeah, we can talk about that at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how Star Trek just continues to be relevant.
Yeah. TOS, they got so many things right.
Right? For as sexist and as racist as it can be.
They got so many things right.
Yeah. There's a moment here where Kirk argues that, look, these are just kids who don't really understand what they're doing. But unfortunately, like, the clock's running out. So either we have to figure out how to get the evil out of the kids or kill them.
Yeah, I vote for killing him. But anyway, Tommy and Chekhov come to approach them, and there are 2 guards with them. Tommy kind of moves out of the way because Chekhov is going to do a mutiny. He's like, I've been instructed to place you and Mr. Spock under arrest. And Kirk is like, by who? And Chekhov thinks that this is from Starfleet Command. Kirk is like, no, this order is false. You're wrong. And Chekhov insists. He even draws his phaser. But when he does it, it even looks like he's not in control of his own body, which I thought was good acting. Again, Kirk is like, this is false. But Chekhov is always, he's like, I've never disobeyed an order, Captain. You know, I've never done that. And they end up actually having to scrap in the hallway. Star Trek fight! Tommy's in the background just
beating
himself off. And they're fighting. So Kirk and Spock are taking on Chekhov and the 2 guards. And Spock is able to finally neck pinch one of them. And they're able to get it under control. Tommy sees that he's kind of like losing control of the situation. So he kind of slinks off. And Kirk tells Spock to take him to the brig and then join him on the bridge.
Kirk gets to the bridge to find Tommy has now taken over the big chair.
And it just reminds me of that.
Get out of my chair,
Charlie, and get out
Get out of it now.
Exactly. That's like my favorite line. That's my favorite line. Get out of my chair.
Kirk tries a little reverse psychology on Tommy and Mary here. He insists, like, listen, you're never going to make it to Marcos 12 because my crew will see the truth and then you'll lose control of the Enterprise. And Kirk's like, that friend of yours, where is he again? And why doesn't he show himself?
That's a good one.
It is. The kids explain that he'll come if we call to him, but we don't need to call to him because we're not afraid. Kirk's like, yeah, but your friend is afraid to show himself. Because once the crew sees and hears him, then they'll know he's not our friend and they'll snap out of it and he'll lose control. That's why he doesn't show up. Kirk's like, fine, let him show himself then. Bring him out. Let him prove to me that he is my friend. And then I'll follow him to Marcos 12 or wherever the fuck he wants to go.
Yep. I'll devote my life to Jesus Christ. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
But Tommy's like, no. And then Spock comes in. And again, Kirk with the brilliant ideas. He tells Spock to play the chant that they did. Since the kids won't do it, he's going to have Spock replay back the chant that they did to summon up the Gorgon.
While this call to the Guardians of the Watchtowers of the West or whatever is playing, the other three kids arrive on the bridge. And sure enough, the recording playback works to summon Gorgon. Did you understand Gorgon to be this being's, like, given name or the name of its species? Because Kirk says here to summon up the Gorgon.
Yeah.
The Gorgon. So is that the name of the species or is that the name of the being?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I was confused here. But Gorgon shows back up and Kirk explains, this is my house, bitch. You better get to stepping.
Right.
But Gorgon is pretty confident in his followers, strong, faithful, and obedient. And he tells Kirk that he would invite them to join, but your gentleness and goodness is too much of a weakness. They're, space pirates or whatever after all. So much that you can't be changed and we'll just have to destroy you like we did the parents on that planet.
Kirk says, we're still very strong. And Gorgon says that your strength is canceled by your gentleness.
Mm-hmm.
You're so full of goodness, so much that you can't be changed like the parents. You've got to be, I'm sorry, we got to kill you.
Kirk's got an ace up his sleeve, though, and he tells Spock to put on the home videos of the children on the planet so they can see the truth. Of course, Gorgon protests this all the way through, but he is apparently powerless to do anything on his own. He needs those kids to do things. So Spock pops in the old VHS tape, and the children see themselves happily playing with their parents as a happier version of Ring Around the Rosie plays again. This theme keeps coming back. And this provides smiles all around. The kids are reliving like happy memories here.
Yeah.
But then the film changes to images of their parents lying dead on the planet.
And now they're crying.
Yeah.
So they're like forgotten all about Gorgon and they're actually remembering these and actually feeling.
Yeah, for the first time.
Right.
Gorgon starts God-splaining. Well, they wouldn't help transport us. So they were our enemies and we had to kill them.
They deserve to die.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Spock clicks a switch and the screen starts showing the grave markers of the adults now. And he says, Tommy's father would have destroyed you, but he recognized you too late. Throughout this part of the scene, the camera cuts around from Kirk and Gorgon to each of the children, and they're like really crying now, wiping big tears away at the loss of their parents. Gorgon insists that they are too late too. The kind ones always are, and Kirk's like, hey, nice guys don't always finish last. Some of us can go hours before coming. Gorgon gets a final evil monologue here.
Gorgon starts his face starts melting, basically. I don't even know how else to describe it, but he starts to, as if he's showing his true self, and he kind of starts being zombified, and his face starts melting away.
As his face melts, he pleads for the children to continue doing his bidding. He says, you are my future generals. Together we can raise armies of followers. Go to your posts. The first great victories are upon us. So this is a kind of a Hitler speech. Like
Oh my goodness.
our purity of purpose cannot be contaminated by those who disagree.
Who will not cooperate? Oh
Mhm.
my goodness. They must be annihilated. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
some total Hitler speech.
So the kids are all crying now, and Mary like leaps into Kirk's arms to be comforted. And Kirk carries her over to the other children, sets her down, kind of kneels among the kids, and challenges them to not be afraid, but to look at Gorgon as his face melts off.
Yeah.
It's like every time the camera went away and came
He just
back,
looked
he
worse.
got more ham on his face.
Ham. But he's like, the whole time, he's not going out without a fight. He's like, death to you all. Death to you all. And he fades away, and all of the other things fade away. Like Sulu's swords fade away. Uhura's
Young and
terrible,
beautiful again.
Yeah, terrible reflection fades away. Everything's all right with the world again.
McCoy steps off the turbo lift and he's like, oh, finally, those kids are crying. It's about damn time. Kirk picks up Mary again, reassuring them all that it's going to be okay. He hands Mary to McCoy and sits back down in the big chair just as they're about to approach Marcos 12. Reverse course. Doctor takes the children off the bridge and off we go to our next adventure.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm happy the affair is over.
Me too.
A most annoying, emotional episode.
Yeah, but you know, I learned something today.
When dreams become more important than reality, you give up travel, building, creating.
One jealous god, if all this makes a god.
By sparing your helpless enemy who surely would have destroyed you, you demonstrated the advanced trait of mercy.
Frankly, I was rather dismayed by your use of the term half-breed. You must admit, it is an unsophisticated expression.
Let's start with evil. So there were a lot of great lines in this episode about evil and how evil spreads.
Mm-hmm.
Evil does seek to maintain power by suppressing the truth or by misleading the innocent. And I made a politically charged joke there, but there is some truth to that, right? I think this,
100%.
and I think the catalyst for us is probably like the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we really started to see not just misinformation, but disinformation.
Purposeful.
Spread like wildfire throughout the world.
But everyone was afraid, and fear is like a huge catalyst for that.
Right. So that spread doesn't just happen in a bottle, right? There are bad actors and motives behind the spread of false information and fake news and the like. And then when Kirk and Spock talk about the children, how they aren't the evil alien, right? They're just followers.
They're mouthpieces, basically.
Carriers, they said, carriers of the evil. So even though they were these like otherwise innocent and being misled by the bad actors, like you're still part of the problem.
Yeah.
And like, therefore you're not innocent.
Yeah.
When I think about recent events, I think about like the many, many, many just ignorant, misinformed people who were kind of used as pawns by bad actors.
Yeah.
You know, like they were used for their willingness to be led, right?
That's the thing. You can't lead someone if they don't want to go. But yeah.
And like maybe a lack of critical thinking and skeptical thought of like, so they're easier to be hoodwinked because of this.
There's where we have indoctrination of children.
Yeah.
Weaponizing kids, it's so effective because you're getting them at this age where they're still developing and they haven't learned all of the skills, you know, for critical thinking and asking questions. So you play on their fears and you manipulate them. And they are the perfect weapon.
Yeah.
It's so dangerous. And this is indoctrination is what I saw.
It makes me think of and I don't remember what the numbers are, but it's like the 7 to 14 window or something that it's called. Yeah, there was like a mega church pastor or something that said like on record as, if you get them while they're young, basically, then you've got them for life.
That is the thing.
Yeah.
And I hate to bring up religion because I feel like everyone should be able to believe whatever they want to believe. But at the same time.
But when you teach children at such a young age, then they don't have the freedom of choice.
Exactly. And when they do later on break out of it, it's so painful for them.
Yeah.
Because they missed all of the learning and the critical thinking that everybody else got who wasn't indoctrinated or exposed to that.
Yeah.
So it's really damaging too.
So I thought about religion. I thought about like politically,
Mm-hmm.
the people who, are just I said it, the election was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
It was rigged.
Mm-hmm.
He won, like that blind allegiance to the leader sort of thing.
Yeah.
We see here again.
And these are like, you mentioned it before. These are people who need, want, whatever. They have to be led. And they attach to whatever sounds good.
Yeah.
And then they follow it blindly.
In this episode, what we never see, though, is how this alien being was able to convince the children to follow him in the first place.
Yeah.
Or how he conferred upon them magic rock flower lightning powers.
Yeah, like how did they learn to, and the learning of that little hail, fire and snow bullshit.
I also want to mention that scene on the bridge where Kirk is arguing with the kids about Gorgon being afraid to show himself, right? So the problem of divine hiddenness, right? If God truly exists, why does he hide? Why doesn't he just show himself? And then everybody would be like, oh, wow, you do exist. Okay, I'm a follower.
Okay, yeah,
I'm a believer.
It was that simple. Yeah, just do that. Do that. And then, if you want followers, then show yourself.
Yeah.
Because if that's what makes you powerful, that's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do.
But yeah.
So for me, you take all of those things and you put them in a bag and shake them up. And you come out with when a being, or the idea of a being, presents itself to you as a god, exercise some critical thinking and skepticism.
Ask some questions, doubt.
Yeah. Question everything.
Yeah.
Don't blindly follow.
Yep. Like in the last episode, he didn't believe Kirk was Kirk.
Right. The god.
Kirok.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't because he didn't believe it. It was because he had his woman. He took his woman. But at the same time, still ask those questions. Another, I don't know, this is a little bit vague, but dealing with grief.
Yes.
McCoy seemed to just harp on the fact that they just need to cry. You know what I mean? They just need to feel something and then they'll be okay. And I feel like
that's an outdated thought.
Well, it is a sort of an outdated thought, but it's more of like recognizing that something bad happened and facing it.
Right.
Because before they started crying, they didn't even acknowledge that their parents had died.
It made me think, though, of like, don't we all process grief differently?
True.
And so, where one person might, think about like an open casket or whatever. Like one person might cry through the whole damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then another person seem to not be as affected by it.
Yeah.
Right? Because we all handle it differently.
Yeah.
So I thought kind of McCoy being like, well, they haven't cried yet, so they're not, like...
I know.
I felt like that was kind of wrong.
And it was, it was not a good way. But at the same time, I feel like you were trying to illustrate they haven't even accepted their death yet.
Right.
Or acknowledged it. So once they acknowledge what's happened, now they can start to
move on,
heal or whatever.
Yeah. Well, now then it's time to honor the dead.
Oh, goodness. Let's see. We had a lot of people die.
I didn't write. I've tried to get in the habit of writing them down as I go, but I haven't been. So who died in this episode?
So the 6 parents, Professor Starn.
Yes.
And the 2 unlucky motherfuckers.
That got beamed out into space. Hey, Roddenberry, if you're listening, we just want to be beamed out into space.
I'm okay with that.
I don't need a speaking part. I don't need a line. You don't need to give me a SAG-AFTRA card. I'll just show up and you beam me out into space.
Totally. I just want to wear the uniform and get my camera time.
Yeah.
It's dead, Jim.
We are assembled here today to pay final respects to our honored dead.
Ring around the rose. Triacus is dangerous for adults, I suppose. KSM beamed down and found everyone had died. They had ingested a drug, apparent mass suicide. The children shook their fists and altered the crew's reality. They thought they were still orbiting Triacus, when in fact they were traveling through the galaxy. So when Kirk ordered a shift change for 2 unsuspecting security detail, they were beamed into oblivion. This ranked really high on my fucked up scale. Hail, hail, fire, and snow. Hail, hail, fire, and snow. The friendly angel was, in fact, an asshole. Kirk breaks the spell by making the children cry. Without their belief, evil Gorgon would die.
Oh, I love it. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Especially the two dudes that got beamed in space.
I was like, I can't believe they did that. It's so mean.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price.
Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
This show does not happen without support of our listeners. And there are a lot of great ways to help support us. You can share out the episode and tell people about it. That's the free way. Set up a pyramid scheme. If you want, tell people that they'll get stuff. I don't know. You bring 3 people in, they bring 5. Each one of those brings 5. Yeah, sure. One of the best ways to support us, though, is to give us some of your Gold Press Latinum by becoming a patron of the show. We want to thank all of our patrons, but we especially want to thank our founding admirals. A special thank you to Russell, Allie, Peter, Sarah, and Sherry.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons. All patrons get access to every episode early. Special merch. We've done reactions to very short treks. There's lots of great reasons to join our fleet. So head on over to patreon.com/humanisttrek and pledge as little as $3 a month. It really makes a big difference, and it means a lot to us.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
And now Becca's back for the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge. Last time on Humanist Trek, you asked us,
what Old Testament book of the Bible contains a verse reminiscent of the title of this episode?
I said Proverbs, and Allie said Matthew 6:66.
I'm sticking with my answer. I think it's right.
Well, you're both wrong.
Incorrect.
Okay, what is it?
Little heathens. It's from Isaiah chapter 11, verse 6.
How would I have known that?
All right, get ready to go to church. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion, and the fatling together, and a child shall lead them.
Hey, who you calling a fatling?
Well, actually, and a little child shall lead them.
And it sounds like it's just a big animal orgy.
Yeah.
Led by a child. That book is fucking weird.
It really is.
Well, I'm kind of happy to not have known that one.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll be reviewing Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 5, Is There in Truth No Beauty? It's another fucking Shakespeare bullshit. Yeah. I don't remember this episode at all either, do you?
Nope.
All right, what's our question for Is There in Truth No Beauty?
In this episode, we see shots of the Enterprise in the galactic void. These are recycled shots from a previous episode. Name the episode. Bonus points for season and episode number.
Fuck.
Is it that amoeba one?
The immunity syndrome?
Yeah.
Okay, the galactic void. Now, hold on. Is this like the barrier at the edge of the galaxy, right? The what's the fucking name of that episode? It's Where No Man Has Gone Before. Is that it? You think?
She can't tell you.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, me? Oh, I was like, how the fuck would I know? Okay, tell me.
The galactic void is recycled shots. Do you need to? Is recycled shots from what previous episode?
I was thinking the amoeba one, but because they sort of talked about going into this black hole type thing.
Right.
But then Where No Man Has Gone Before, that's like the second episode in season 1.
Yeah. It could also be something like, so when I think galactic void, I think of a starless place.
That's where I always think of the amoeba.
Like,
the amoeba.
oh yeah, that might be. I feel like
it was like they kept talking about. They called it like the dark something, and it sounded kind of dirty. But I,
of course it
but
did.
I think they should have said black hole. But
all right,
I don't know.
All right. Well, are you locking in?
Yeah, I'm gonna lock in with the amoeba episode.
Okay, so Allie has the immunity syndrome. I have Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Season 2. Mine was season 2. Shit, it was got to be in the 20s.
Do you have a season episode guess number?
It was the first season.
Okay.
Episode 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yours was season 2, episode something in the 20s.
Let's see. When was it? Let me look at my notes. Can I?
Oh no,
do
that's
that?
cheating.
That's cheating. Never mind then. I don't know. 23. No. 20. How many episodes were there? 26. I say 23.
Yeah, 23 sounds good. All right. Well, if you'd like to play along, no cheating, no Googling, set a course for your nearest social media, post this episode with your answer and the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll pick out our favorite. It might be the right answer. It might be the funniest answer, but we'll pick out our favorite. Next time on Humanist Trek, Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 5, Is There in Truth No Beauty?
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcast. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.